Hi there, welcome back to the YouTube channel. I'm back again and I'm kicking off the week this week with a deck that was requested by one of my moderators, and it's not a pairing that I think has been seen that often, and it's unusual for me because it's a commander with a background. So here we go, enjoy this one. So the pairing is Sarevok Deathbringer with Raised by Giants. So Sarevok, 3 and a black for a 3/4 human knight, and at the beginning of each player's end step, if no permanents left the battlefield this turn, that player loses X life, where X is Sarevok's power. Okay, and it has a background, and the background for this is Raised by Giants. Gives all your commander creatures you own have a base power and toughness 10/10 and a giants in addition to other types. So basically what it means is if you have both of these in play, and they're not easy because it's like 10 combined mana to get them both out. If an opponent doesn't have anything leave play that turn, they're going to lose 10 life because Sarevok will be power 10. Even with Sarevok just being in play, they'll lose 3. But with Raised by Giants, it's 10. Now, there's a lot of ways to do this, and I've gone down a bit of an extreme route for this one because I want to have a bit of fun, because I don't really want my creatures to die, but I do want to sacrifice the odd occasional thing so I don't lose the life, but someone else might do. So here we go. Here's what today's deck, as requested, looks like. So starting at the beginning, 1 Planeswalker, Vivian Reed. Go and find a creature in a land for the +1, that's fine. We can take out an annoying artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying for the -3. But what we're really aiming to get to is the -8. Creatures you control get +2/+2, have vigilance, trample, and indestructible. Yeah, if we get that off, it saves all 25 creatures we'll be playing in the deck. Although some of them have it built in already. So at the beginning, Birds of Paradise for a bit of ramp, along with Gold Vein Hydra, so we can go and get those treasure tokens. Obviously, the treasure tokens are really good if the Hydra gets killed, not exiled, killed. Because then we get all those treasure tokens, so we can always sacrifice a treasure token in our turn to cast something, or just sacrifice it for the sake of it, so we don't lose life. Yeah, there you go, because of Sarevok up here. Gala's Greeters gives us a little bit of life gain, gives us a tapped treasure token, and gets bigger. The Lotus Cobras here, just so we can get some extra mana from the lands we're going to be playing. And then we have the suite of let's go and make sure everyone can sacrifice something each turn so we don't lose life. So we've got the Demon's Disciple, Fleshbag Marauder, the Grave Lighter to start off with, along with Playcrafter. And then we've got Indestructible Creatures, because we can get these in play. Having Indestructible Creatures, in my mind, is really quite good in this deck. So Farika, God of Affliction, comes in first. And then we have, because I've mentioned Playcraft already, we have Predator Ruse coming in. Is also available now in Foundations, by the way, just so we're clear. So it's back in Standard at the moment if you want to play with it. It's indestructible, attacks, put +1/+1 counter on it. Whenever a creature dealt damage by it dies, you get another +1/+1. Yeah, that's pretty useful. Ronus the Indomitable's also in to give our creatures +2/+0 and trample. And then Scoot Swarm. Now, I'm going to just put my usual disclaimer out here. If you're playing this online, be careful with Scoot Swarm on Magic Online. It's one of the few cards that left that create tokens that do cause a crash to happen. But we want it here because we do want to have ways of losing some things. And we've got a card that comes up that really does help us with this. So, having the tokens and the Insurrects, all the Swarm tokens, pretty good. Eros, God of the Dead, just so we can gain a little bit, draw a little bit, pay a bit of life and draw a little card. I've decided to go with Kona, the Rescue Beastie, because I just think Kona's fun. So, yeah, you can change this one around if you want to, but you should be able to attack with this and get a permanent card from your graveyard onto the battlefield for free in your second main phase. Nylea, God of the Hunt, gives all our creatures trample, and we can pump up creatures as we go along. Toski's obviously in, it can't be counted as indestructible, built in, and then card draw. Green Sleeves is here just to give us that landfall and get those badger tokens, so that's nice. And then the Sapling of Kolfner. I completely forgot about this card existing, to be honest. But when it attacks, reveal the top card of our library. If it's a creature card, you gain life equal to the card's toughness and lose life equal to its power. You'll probably be doing all right in most cases. If nothing else, you'll break even. You might get ahead occasionally, but it's still here and it's good fun. The Stuffy Doll's in because basically it's indestructible. Along with Rampaging Balos, it isn't indestructible, but again, the tokens it creates off the landfall have their upside, which we'll get to. Stonehoof Chieftain is also in as well. Whenever another creature you control attacks, it gains trample and indestructible, which is pretty useful. And then we've got the 4 big indestructible creatures that you see quite often. Well, I think you do anyway. Imperious Great Worm with the 16/16 with indestructible. Then Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger, so we can exile permanents. Darksteel Colossus, because it's a pain to deal with. And then Ulamog, the Infinite Gear, is also in as well. Not so much for the Annihilator bit, but blow up a permanent and goes back to our graveyard if it goes anywhere. Apart from the exile zone, obviously. But, it is indestructible, so it's a little bit harder to deal with. From there, sorceries are mainly ramped with a little bit of control. So we've got Fast Seek, Nature's Law, and 3 visits for the ramp side. Revive the Shire to get something back from our graveyard and give us a food token, which again we can sacrifice off so we don't lose life to Sarevok. And then we've got Damnation for a bit of board control, along with Blood Money to give us those treasure tokens again, so we can use them to sacrifice off so we don't take any damage if we've got Sarevok in play. 2 instants in the deck, Heroic Intervention to save everything we've got, and then Fated Return as an instant. Now, it is nice if you play this during your turn. It does give a creature indestructible when you bring it back from the graveyard, so that's actually really nice. And then the Scry 2 sometimes help. 7 mana for this is bit pricey, but you can play it as an instant and have a surprise blocker if you need one to save yourself. Artifacts, where we've got ramp with the talismans of both descriptions, Mox and Soul. The Elixir of Immortality here. I mean, I always say, when everything goes pear-shaped, you can sacrifice it, shuffle everything back in and try again. But double duty with this deck, because again, it's another thing you can sacrifice that means you don't take damage from Sarevok. Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, both medallions are in, along with Talisman of Resistance, the Thought Vessel. Ancient Cornucopia, so you can gain a little bit of life from the cards as we cast them, but it's still a good ramp spell. Then a couple of indestructible things. So Darksteel Ingot is indestructible, so that's something that won't get destroyed easily. The plate's in as well to make Sarevok indestructible, which is nice, along with Mithril Coat. The Nuka-Cola vending machine is here. Go and get a food token, make a treasure token, save yourself that way. Skyclave Relic, another indestructible ramp card. And then the one that I was interested in, Eldrazi Monument. Creatures you control get +1/+1, have flying and indestructible. But we have to sacrifice a creature. If we can't, we sacrifice the monument. Now, that's why we've got so many things in that create tokens, Ravenous Baloths, etc. So we can actually have the tokens to sacrifice off. That's what they're here for, so we can keep the Eldrazi Monument in play. It's a nice sacrifice outlet. You can play other ones, but I've kept this at bracket 2 just for the fun factor. And this seemed like a reasonable card to include for a change. We haven't seen it for a while in any of my decks, and it's here today for that reason. Finally, Transmutation Font, Blood Token, Clue Token, or a Food Token. And if we're really desperate, we can sacrifice 3 different tokens to go and get something we really do need from the artifact side here. Or, add a push. From there, we go to enchantments. Bloodchief's Ascension seems like a good plan to me in this deck, just so we can have a little bit of way of people losing life and us gaining some life. Exploration, so we can ramp out even quicker, because we've got a lot of high casting costs. The average casting cost in this deck, I think, is about 4.7, so we need to get there quickly. Prismatic Omens in just to help us cast our cards as we go along. Awakening Zone gives us those lovely Eldrazi spawn tokens that we can sacrifice off for mana and get around Sarevok's trigger again. Black Market Connections, a bit of a weird one, I'll be honest, but it does give us a treasure token for life if we need it. So again, that helps. Just be careful if your life total gets too low, because you will clear yourself off. But the Retreat to Kadzuna gives us a little bit of life gain when we do the landfall triggers. Frontier Sage is here just to go for cards to give us even more mana ramp. Guardian Project, because who doesn't just want to draw cards? That's fine. And then we have the combo, Exquisite Blood and Sanguine Bonds in. We have ways of gaining some life. We might as well play it that way. Likewise, Revel in Riches, so we can get those treasures and maybe win the game that way. And then a Severe Fun card at the end. I've included it. I know it's going to be counterproductive in some cases. You may not always want to play it, but having your everything as a 6/6 isn't the end of the world when you look at the creature base. Some of them could really do with being 6/6s, but some of them really get hurt by them being 6/6s. So just bear that in mind. But it's a thing, and I quite like playing it, so it's here. Lands wise, well, we're not being too tricky today. A couple of things I will point out. The Blighted Fencing, just so we can sacrifice this off to return. So target opponent sacrifices a creature. Again, gets us around Sarevok's triggers. Black and green lands all the way through the rest of it. A couple of indestructible ones. So we've got the Dark Moss Bridge and the Darksteel Citadel. And then, because I thought it was a nice way to save us taking damage from Sarevok, a lot of the lands that you have to pay to sacrifice off to destroy a different land. I haven't included Strip Mine in here. It's just a little bit too pricey on MTGO for me still. So if you want to replace one of these with Strip Mine to make it even easier to get around Sarevok's trigger, feel free. But I've put the others in. So we've got Demo Field, we've got Field of Runes in, Ghost Quarter, so on and so forth. Golgari Rock Farm's also a good one because it is a permanent. You can play this with Sarevok in play, bounce another land. A permanent has left the battlefield this turn, so you won't lose the life. So that's an extra little trick. 6 swamps, 7 forests, Temple of Malady, Underground Mortuary, Urborg, the usual selection including Yavimar, Cradle of Growth. Volatile Field is the last one I'll point out because that's another one that lets you go and destroy target non-basic land, which does kind of limit people sometimes. And we do get a treasure token out of it, so it does serve double duty for us. So that's a pretty good one. And yeah, that's really it. That's my take on these two for today's video to kick the week off. Obviously, as you're watching this video, I know that the Avatar spoilers are starting today, so you'll see more Avatar videos later on next week. There was an Avatar one last week that I couldn't resist doing, so you can go back and check that out. But please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the share button. If you've got any cheers, please cheer. That will help me out immensely. And yeah, I'll be back tomorrow with some more random decks. But for now, have a good one. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye bye.